I grade assignments to gauge student learning, determine how effectively they have learned the information, and evaluate mastery of the skills I have instructed. This process enables me to monitor progress over time, which is beneficial for their individualized education program goals and tracking progress. By grading assignments, I can offer feedback to students that is constructive and aims to inspire them to study more and participate effectively in learning. Evaluating student performance on these tasks can reveal insights into areas that may require adjustments in my teaching strategies. There are several key factors that play a significant role in shaping my grading practices. First, I consider the effort a student puts into their assignments. A student's dedication and hard work are indicators of their engagement with the material. Additionally, the weight of each assignment is important. I understand that not all tasks carry the same level of importance in the overall learning process. So for larger projects, I use detailed grading rubrics, which I provide with the assignment. This approach not only streamlines my grading process, but also offers students a clear understanding of my expectations. By outlining specific criteria, students can better focus their efforts on what is required. I do maintain a lenient stance when it comes to grading. My philosophy is that as long as students show up and put forth their best effort and actively participate in class, they will have a positive experience and perform well. This supportive environment encourages students to strive for important improvement and fosters a love for learning. Throughout the unit I'm delivering, I use various formative assessments to monitor my students' progress and understanding of the material. These assessments serve as valuable tools to gauge where each student stands in their learning journey. Examples include Ticket Out the Door, where students reflect on their understanding before leaving, or a brief quiz consisting of 5 questions designed to check their comprehension of key concepts. My students also like open discussion and Think, Pair, Share, where they get to share their ideas about subject matter. At the conclusion of the unit, I give a summative assessment to evaluate their overall knowledge and mastery of the content covered. This two-tiered approach, using formative and summative assessments during the unit and a summative assessment at the end, ensures that I can effectively support my students' learning needs and adapt my teaching strategies accordingly. Since I teach small group resource, it is important to me to show growth during the school year, and the best way for me to do this is by using data-driven instruction and formative assessment. I monitor student progress using various approaches throughout the year. At the beginning of the year, I give a pretest to gauge prior knowledge. This pretest is not counted as a grade. However, I do record it in the gradebook as a baseline starting point. As the year progresses, I break down the curriculum into smaller segments for each unit. This allows me to track growth patterns more effectively. By the end of the year, I expect to see a visible growth pattern in the gradebook reflecting the progress made by each student. I also use progress monitoring data in Go IEP to track data and progress on my students, which is easier in the small group or exceptional student environment. The final grade is calculated based on a percentage, 40% daily grade, which is homework and participation, 40% assessment grades, which is the formative assessment and summative assessments, and then a 20% final or EOC grade if the class is a EOC class, which for U.S. history is a EOC class. If a student has performed well all semester and has done their best with no behavior issues and has a final grade of 68 or 69, I will help them get extra points they need by offering extra credit opportunities at the end of the semester. My school system uses school status to update parents on the child's grades. If a student's performance drops below 75, I will reach out with a phone call. Additionally, I have printed a list of missing assignments and sent that along with a log of outstanding work to parents via mail, or have sent it home with the student. I prioritize keeping parents informed about their child's academic progress. I believe this communication is essential for the student's success and for fostering a strong relationship between parents and teachers. I would not want to learn about my child's failing status during the final week of school. Our team consists of an instructional coach, the department head, the principal, assistant principal, and 3 dedicated members of the social studies department. Our team meets on a weekly basis every Monday. We also meet on Fridays for planning. We maintain a collaborative horizontal alignment wherein each of us instructs using the same academic standards, guided by a comprehensive curriculum map that outlines our educational objectives. This initiative focuses on the 11th grade U.S. History, which is my EOC class. To assess student understanding and progress, we use common summative assessments that have been developed collaboratively by the school district in conjunction with a group of teachers from a previous academic year. However, we create our own formative assessments. Like I said earlier, these come in the form of tickets out the door, games, learning logs, and other creative ideas. We get together in collaborative meetings each Monday and Fridays and talk about learning standards. We are setting clear expectations of what students should know and be able to do to help students grasp these expectations better. We also break down each standard into simpler, more relatable terms. In our department, we use a lot of vocabulary to do this. By breaking down each standard, we highlight the main ideas and use specific vocabulary in U.S. history. This makes it easier for the students to understand what they are expected to learn. It also helps us to target our instruction and allows more effective teaching strategies and helps meet the diverse needs of our students, especially in those classes that are inclusion classes where you have a mixed group of students. Unpacking standards helps teachers design assessments that truly measures how well students are learning the specific content. When assessments are aligned, it ensures that students are being evaluated on what they have actually learned. In our school, we have established numerous supports aimed at the development and implementation of formative assessments. One critical component of this framework is our weekly collaborative meetings, which foster a culture of teamwork and shared learning. These meetings do enable us to engage in discussions about assessment practices, share insights, and refine our strategies collectively. The use of formative assessments is particularly valuable due to its ability to provide immediate feedback. This feedback allows us to make timely adjustments to our teaching practices, ensuring that instruction is responsive to students' needs. By integrating formative assessments into our teaching, we can identify areas where students may be struggling and adapt their lessons accordingly. So the assessment that I gave was a 9-question quiz that I placed on pear assessment. I scored the assessment using pear assessment in real time. Pear assessment is a testing app that my school system uses. Any score above 80% I consider mastery of the content. 79 and below requires remediation of the content. The content is based on the Georgia Standards of Excellence for 11th grade U.S. History. The data collected is placed into a spreadsheet that allows us to categorize students into learning groups that align their individual needs. The chart that I have placed in this is an example of the chart that I would use in the data collection. This shows where it would benefit students for peer tutoring as a form of remediation. As you can see, for period 1 and 2, team 1 through 4, the dark blue would be the student that scored the highest. And then the light blue would be the peer tutoring, where it would correlate with the lower score for the assessment. This is the spreadsheet that I pulled from the peer assessment that came in real time as it was graded. As you can see, it gives you the 4 students that took the assessment and then the 9 questions. Excuse me. The general education classroom students scored higher, with 90% of students scoring at 90 or above. These students scored less than 90 or above, so they did need some remediation, which was broken down into the next slide. So after I gave the assessment and collaborated with my team, we discussed the idea that for the formative, I gave one in a small group class and the other in the general ed classroom. The test questions that were pulled from an item bank for the regular general ed classroom, we each felt that the students did well given the rigor of the test questions, and the academic level was 3 times higher. I gave the same assessment in the general education classroom and in the inclusion classroom. The gen ed classroom students scored higher, with 90% of the students scoring at 90 or above. The gen ed classroom, the inclusion classroom students, which are mixed with general education students and exceptional students at 60-40 ratio, scored around 85%. For my particular assessment, the disaggregation data played a factor. The 2 girls scored higher than the 2 boys, so the group is split 50-50 boy-girl. I do not feel that ethnicity played a role in this particular assessment, as they scored around the same as each student, regardless of their ethnicity. My team works really well together on formative assessments. We do collaborate effectively, but we do face some challenges, such as limited access to specialized training focused on effective formative assessment techniques. Also, the lack of targeted professional development hinders our ability to fully harness the potential of the assessments in our classrooms. I gained significant insights from this case study. It highlighted the importance of monitoring student instruction and introduced various types of formative assessments. These assessments are vital tools in the classroom as they enhance teaching methods and boost student learning outcomes. Unlike summative assessments, which measure student performance at specific moments, formative assessments offer ongoing feedback throughout the teaching process. When used effectively, these assessments help us ensure that grades truly reflect students' comprehension and development, rather than just acting as final judgments. This strategy prioritizes learning over grading, giving students the chance to improve based on constructive and continuous feedback. Incorporating formative assessment techniques into everyday instruction necessitates a change in teaching dynamics, promoting a shared responsibility between teachers and students. Educators should engage students by clarifying learning objectives and utilizing their responses as valuable instructional tools. This approach encourages participation and makes feedback much easier, which can greatly influence student success. My team uses formative assessments continually. We know the value of using assessments to help students' growth and achievement. I do, however, think this would be a great tool to introduce to new teachers to help them in their first year of teaching. To learn more about the different ways you can use assessments to drive your instruction and help your students grow. I also learned while putting this together in my reflection that it's easier to develop lesson plans based on student achievement after you've given the assessment and do the remediation and acceleration pieces into your lesson plans.